Stephanie Hamilton, and I've been a USM member for 15 or more years. I raised my 2 boys here, Travis and Dexter. You may remember them running around. They're now running around, mostly out there. So I came to nursing about 5 years ago. It was my 3rd career, 3rd and final answer. And so I was nursing for about 2 years before COVID changed everything. And I, of course, had picked ICU because that's really interesting until there's a worldwide pandemic. Then that seemed like a really bad choice. Everything changed. We were overwhelmed, understaffed, and unprotected. I felt like the proverbial frog who's put into the container of cold water, which is then put on the stove, and the frog never knows when to jump out. I sent my kids to live with my ex-husband because what we were doing wasn't safe at the hospital. Then you added in some of the abusive, dangerous patients who would refuse to stay in their isolation rooms because COVID wasn't real. They weren't really, we couldn't help them anyway, just let them go home. Some great days at the hospital. And took its toll a little bit. And then COVID also didn't have the grace or the kindness to not attack us or our families. One would have thought that would have been good manners, but not so much. So one day I got a call from my ex-in-laws, and my ex-mother-in-law had contracted COVID via her work as an executive director at an assisted living facility. Some lovely family had picked up one of the residents and taken them home for Thanksgiving and brought them back with COVID. And so she caught it, and she was very sick, and then my father-in-law caught it, and I was the one to tell them it was time to call the ambulance for him. And then I was the one who was on the phone with the caregivers at the hospital twice a day, sometimes 3 times a day, to check on him, report back to the family. I was the one who got called when we were asked whether we wanted to intubate, and then I got called when he passed. Now, I don't know how many of you have ever heard of a good divorce. That wasn't mine. So if there's anything positive I can say about that experience, is that I think it did soothe that relationship with my ex in some very good ways, and hopefully was modeling for my kids about how you can still be there for someone. There were good things though too. Not all my patient stories are awful. I'm kind of snarky about the awful ones though. I got a call one day from a friendly acquaintance, Lisa, to say that one of her friends, Ken, was in my unit and had been for a few weeks at this point. And asking whether I might be able to give a little extra TLC, maybe a few extra updates to his wife. Everybody was very worried. Of course, it's what I'm there for. And Ken was one of the lucky ones. A few weeks later, he left. And he looked me up on Facebook afterwards to send me a note of gratitude, which was so sweet. And I really felt like I had done nothing extra, really, but it was nice to get that call back. And it was nice, I think what kept me going was my communities, my friends, my family. I'm gonna bore you with just a few stories. So my friend Jen, who's an amazing lawyer and a fantastic baker, county fair winning baker, would make boxes of treats for the nurses and bring them to my house, usually Sunday evenings, and we would chat over my fence as she would give them out to me. She said it was her therapy. My friend Angela had burritos sent every Wednesday for a month to my nurses. A huge shout out to Barbara Dumont, who made literally over 100 masks from the nurses in my unit. All different shapes, sizes, fabric colors, and I would bring in these, and just the excitement on the floor was great, as everybody would get to pick one. And we couldn't wear them at work, but we could wear them after work and actually, be among other people, and that felt really good. Those of you may know that I can be a little sarcastic on occasion, so one day on Facebook, I wrote that instead of honking, maybe nurses would appreciate toilet paper and wine. So I then got on my doorstep a few bottles of wine with toilet paper over the neck. I was never so happy. And so we grieved with our patients and their families. We also lost the stability, the safety, and honestly, in some ways, how to do our jobs. I started off nursing because I wanted to make a difference every day. I feel like I did that through COVID. I also wanted to touch people every day, not in a creepy way. And that was made much harder as I had my gloves on, my gown on, my N95, and my face shield. But it was my communities that kept me going. It was the family, the friends, all of you. We joke that COVID nursing is like dog years. 1 year equals 7. So I've been COVID nursing for 18 years now. And I've recently decided to make a move, no, not to career number 4. Still third and final answer, but to post-op, to be able to get away a little bit from the complete snowman gown and the rest. And it's a little hard because I'm now switching communities there. But I know it's the strength of my other communities that are going to keep me going. So thank you for being there for me.